Creepypastas get a bad rap, but usually for a good reason. It was once the case that a campfire story had to survive through word of mouth, only being passed on if it was interesting, creative, or genuinely scary. The onset of the internet broke this paradigm in half, and now anyone with a keyboard has the right to invade your brain space with their scary stories. I think a perfect example of this is found in the classic spooky story, The Hook. You might have already heard it before, so just a brief summary. A girl goes out for a night on a romantic drive with her pushy boyfriend, and they park in a local lover's lane. The steamy music on the radio is interrupted by a broadcast that warns of an insane killer with a hook in place of his right hand who is loose in the area. This was made especially worse by the fact that the lover's lane was, quote, a perfect spot for a deranged madman to lurk. I wonder if that was like on the sign out front or just intuited by the girl. Anyways, they stop making out and start arguing because the girl wants to go home. She's scared, for some reason, that a deranged madman with a hook is going to kill them. Her boyfriend, in perfect gaslighter fashion, assures her that she's being crazy. But the car shakes a little, so they drive off. And when they get home, they find a bloody hook attached to the passenger door handle. I guess that means they ripped the poor guy's hook off when they drove away. Not cool, guys. Being an amputee is no joke. Anyways, the internet got its grubby hands all over the story and turned it into this. Man and girl go out to drive under moonlight. They stop on a side of road. He turned to his girl and say, "Baby, I love you very much." "What is it, honey?" "Our car is broken down. I think the engine is broken. I'll walk and get some more fuel." "Okay, I'll stay here and look after our stereo. There have been news reports of steers being stolen." "Good idea. Keep the doors locked no matter what. I love you, sweaty." So the guy left to get fuel for the car. After 2 hours, the girls say, "Where is my baby? He was supposed to be back by now." Then the girl hear a scratching sound and voice say, "Let me in." The girl doesn't do it, and then after a while, she goes to sleep. The next morning, she wakes up and finds her boyfriend still not there. She gets out to check, and man, door, hand, hook, car, door. Terrifying. All of this is to say that not everyone can be a published horror novelist, which is fine. If writing is still fun for you, then by all means do it. But as with any form of artistic expression, if you suck at it, either do it for yourself or listen to the critics. And look, I'm not trying to sound like a dick here. God knows I have sucked at many of my creative pursuits. But there's just something about creepypastas that makes them, more often than not, real stinkers. There are some good ones out there, absolutely. I remember liking 1999, but these good ones are exceptions to the rule. But just how bad can they get? Like, objectively speaking. Luckily for us, creepypasta.com lets us filter straight to the bottom of the tragically deep barrel. By searching for those rated from low to high, we can find only the most niche deep cuts in all of horror fanfiction. These are some of the objectively lowest rated creepypastas on the internet. The Town of Blanche. Coming in at a comparatively respectable 2.63 out of 10, we have this 2008 creepypasta called The Town of Blanche. We start hot, an ominous warning to never go near the town of Blanche if you ever find yourself in France's Côte d'Azur. Okay, I wonder what goes on there. We found ourselves looking for a place to get some rest and enjoy some of the local color. We were getting really hungry on the road, so it was with some luck that a town, unmarked on our map, rose unexpectedly on the horizon. This was the town of Blanche. Putting aside that I had to Google what local color meant, this opening is bland, but not really that bad. Let's press on. Immediately after we entered Blanche, we noticed that the colors of the houses were darker than anything I had seen in my entire life. It's not like they were black or gray. They were normal colors for walls. They just look not right. It's hard to explain. Almost like it was a color that we don't even have a word for, because it's so dark and strange. My man, you are the author. It is quite literally your job to find a word for it. You're kind of asking a lot by imploring the reader to fill in the blanks based on your vague description, especially if the point is to be scary. Imagine if other books did this, like in The Great Gatsby, instead of involuntarily, I glanced seaward and distinguished nothing except a single green light, minute and far away, that might have been at the end of a dock. Nick was like, I distinguished a light that was really far away. Kind of hard to explain. It was really strange. I'm digressing, let's move on. A few minutes after driving around the town, we all began to notice the fishy stench, except for the fact that no fish were being sold. The people in the town also had a really weird skin tone, almost frost-bitten and tinged a deep blue. My mother and my sister were so disturbed by the creepy atmosphere and the town's denizens that they insisted we keep driving and find a different town to stay the night. So let me get this straight. You and your family were driving around the French countryside when you happened upon a town that smelled fishy. You were made uncomfortable by the skin color of the residents, so you stayed in your car and kept driving. Just making sure. Well, there's one paragraph left, so I'm not certain we are in store for a scary monster chase through the city, but who knows? Maybe when they get out, there's like a bloody hook on the passenger door or something. When we arrived in the next town, it was like we all gave a gigantic sigh of relief at once. We felt that we were back in normal civilization. However, the people who ran the inn that we stayed at in the second town did tell us some very freaky stories about Blanche. Stories that made us really glad we didn't stay there. And then it ends. The scary stories you were talking about at the end? I think that's what you should have written instead. In fact, I think that's actually asking the bare minimum. Absolutely nothing of interest happens in this very brief story. I guess it's technically a creepypasta because it's on the internet and it's supposed to be scary, but it's barely a story, like, at all. The narrator basically just says, we drove into this town and it smelled bad and the skin color of the residents made me uncomfortable, so we kept driving. And then later, some people told us scary stories about that town. I actually can't even believe they would tease us like that at the end there. Don't edge us. I want to know the scary stories. That's the whole reason I'm here on creepypasta.com. This is like the narrative version of when your coworker tries to explain a YouTube video to you at work without actually showing it to you. Just vague descriptions and trust me, it's interesting. I don't trust you. This is like reading a book about someone else reading a book that they assure you is more interesting than the book you're reading. I could go on, but at this point I've written more in my script than the person actually wrote in the creepypasta, so I think it's time to move on. That being said, don't judge people based on their skin color, it's rude. Sports stars who love Halloween. Surpassing the town of Blanche, but not by much, at 2.92 out of 10, we have sports stars who love Halloween. Now, I know what you're thinking. That doesn't sound like a creepypasta at all. That sounds like some strange listicle your uncle would post on Facebook, right under an AI sob story of a child who lost all of his limbs in combat. And you would be exactly right. This entry, and actually several others on creepypasta.com, are not even scary stories. They're not even stories, they're like mental floss articles. This one, with an estimated reading time of 3 minutes, is the creepypasta equivalent of shovelware. Let's get into it, shall we? Halloween has become one of the best loved dates on the calendar, with the occasion celebrated by millions across the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, and further afield. Historic supernatural beings, including vampires, werewolves, and witches, remain prominent in Halloween parties today. Kids are beginning to adopt a more modern stance for their trick-or-treat costumes. This year, we saw plenty from Pokemon, Venom, and even Frozen. Children can who cares? I know what Halloween is. This article was, I guess, written for aliens, or Perhaps someone raised from birth in a sensory deprivation chamber and unleashed into the world at the age of 32. It assumes you're so stupid that you don't know what Halloween is. But why would you be reading this article about sports stars and Halloween if you didn't know what Halloween was? Have you ever wondered how the stars of sports celebrate Halloween? No, I have never wondered that. No one has ever wondered that. Can you imagine Cristiano Ronaldo turning up at your door with children looking for free candy? No, bum. The biggest names in sports gambling, available at my top sportsbooks, and the top attractions from football, boxing, and basketball, all love spending Halloween with their family. Dear reader, this is not a creepypasta. It's not even a story. It's not even a sensical article. It is the least subtle advertisement for a gambling platform I have ever seen, hosted on creepypasta.com for some reason. I love that this entry in particular is categorized under strange and unexplained. What is unexplained? What is strange? I'm actually in disbelief that this is on here. Who paid for this? Who wrote this? Who thought there was an untapped market of middle schoolers on creepypasta.com who would be interested enough in your article about sports stars and Halloween to start gambling? 99% of the users on creepypasta.com are not old enough to gamble. This is the most mind-bending thing I've ever seen. I'm not going to read any more of it because it's just writing about celebrity social media posts with fake language like, "We have an image in our heads of The Rock going all out to celebrate the night the dead return to Earth for a visit. We certainly wouldn't mind an invite." If this weren't published in 2022, I would be dead convinced that an AI wrote this whole thing. But maybe that's what was scary all along. The real creepypasta monster wasn't Jeff the Killer or Slender Man. It was the out-of-touch social media manager at my sportsbook who forced the poor, shackled office worker to crank out a meaningless article on a website meant for creepy stories. That's pretty scary if you ask me. 5 reasons angel numbers are freaking you out. Okay, this one kind of also sounds like a listicle, but maybe not. Maybe it's 5 documented instances of angel numbers appearing in someone's life, and the epic narrative concludes with some freaky angel monster who kills them. Let's take a look. If you're aware, the essence of angel numbers, the sense of being haunted by those numbers makes it hard to decode their meaning correctly and use them as a means of guidance. In this article. Another one? Who is writing these and why? Encountering specific angel numbers, such as 555 or 444, is especially challenging when you are involved in high-risk activities. For example, if you are searching for online casinos to place bets and win bonuses, it's natural to worry about the potential financial implications these numbers might suggest. I don't like where this is going. That's why it's worth considering visiting resources like Strafe to find the best betting options and ensure you don't ignore these warnings from the universe. Why? Who is paying for these? I also love the ridiculous stretch that if you start seeing angel numbers in public, it's a sign you need to start esports betting. Like the last one, it's not worth it to show you any more of this. It's just a bad BuzzFeed article with a shoehorned gambling ad in the mix. This isn't a creepypasta. This isn't scary. You know what is scary? Losing everything on esports gambling. How do you explain that to your parents? Mom, I'm in debt because I put all my money on a Counter-Strike match after angel numbers told me to.
Mom, can you give me some money, please? Mom, can you give me some money, please? Stop.
I don't have anything left to say about this. I'm floored. This is so stupid. 5 creepy things from the world of Warcraft. No, we're not doing this again. We are not doing this. In this article, we will discuss 5 of the creepiest things you can encounter while playing. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not. Speaking of gold and spooky encounters, courage isn't always enough to handle such eerie encounters. It demands resources, which, in terms of World of Warcraft, is WoW Gold. And if you're looking for simple ways to get it, you can buy WoW Gold from WoW Vendor. Enough. Honestly, before I made this video, I thought there would be tons of great crappy campfire stories to share with you, but there are just so many blatant advertisements disguised as articles that get submitted to and approved by the site. They need to take these down. I'm so serious. Karma! Okay, this one, I promise, is not some gambling advertisement disguised as an article, disguised as a creepypasta. It's called Karma, and at a record high 3.11 out of 10, it starts with a bang. Have you ever wondered, what would it be like to be dead? I'll tell you, it's not fun. Post-mortem narration. That's the most creative thing I've seen all day. My name is Serafina Kaiton, and this is the story of my death. 2 years ago, I was murdered on November 21st, 2015. Okay, I'll forgive the Final Fantasy name. Let's press on. Like any other story, you probably have read or knew, I was the new kid. Well, at least she acknowledged the cliche before I had to, so fine. I made friends fairly quickly, but I still don't remember why. I was a meanie, I had to admit. So it still haunts me that people liked me. It was surprising, but again, not everyone liked me. This is a taste of what's to come. You can kind of tell that the author just learned how to swear, so she lets it rip through the whole story. I am the type of person that will be loved on one side, but completely rejected on another. And there was one person who, well, seemed a bit off. You can even ask my living friends. The thing about this girl is that she was completely alone. Literally, no one talked to her, so she talked to no one. Alone. Now, how I died was karma. Okay, the stage is set. We have the popular loner and the loner, and the popular one died because of karma. I shouldn't have gone in her house and... Wait, that's right, you don't know yet. Remember what I said about her being a loner? Well, it turns out she was. Okay, I did believe you, but thank you for reassuring me. Her house was completely empty. Like, what kind of person would even want to be this alone? Well, except for one room. I presume it was her room, but something seemed off about it to me. I wandered in, and what I saw was horrific. It still scars me to this day, even when I'm in freaking heaven. It was so bad that she had to kill me because I saw this slaughterhouse. I had so many emotions about that. Right, as you would. The bodies that were piled upon bodies. It was like a sanctuary for dead people. Okay, question for you. Imagine that you are walking home from school, don't want to do your homework because you're a lazy fat ass, and you two come across a creepy house that you think belongs to the loner at school. Would you explore the house and most likely be faced with the burden of death, or run the freak away from that place before you freaking shit your pants? I thought option A was better. There's more of that sailor mouth for you. After I went in the room to be an idiot and see what they look like, I saw how she killed people. It was not pretty. She basically smashes your head with a baseball bat, and while you're still unconscious, she ties you to a table with old weary stains from blood on it, gets out all of her murder machine tools for her to slice-o and dice-o you open, and then she does it so slowly to make you suffer. And once you're long gone, she removes all the bones in your body and weaves them together to make a quilt. I'm digging the descriptions. Finally some creepy in the creepypasta. It doesn't really make sense. I'm not sure how you would weave bones together into a quilt, and that sounds like it would take forever, so I'm not certain she's done it to multiple people in her room, but I can respect the descriptive, creative approach. But what I thought was most interesting is that she didn't do any of that. Oh, she didn't. More like she was the victim, and the real murderer was me. Well, I guess that's karma. What a twist! She was the scary loner the whole time! Okay, so this narratively doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't really understand how that would be karma. It doesn't seem like the creepy torturer was slighted in any way. Maybe it's because the popular girl didn't include her at school. I'm not even sure if I'm reading it correctly at all, so I do find it pretty funny that the narrator insists you trust her at several points throughout the story just to betray you at the very end. Now that is some narrative foreshadowing. Truthfully, I don't hate this one. What it lacks in coherent structure and fundamental expression, it makes up for in a charming way. I know this is something I totally would have written in 7th or 8th grade. Not much sense, but lots of swearing and graphic descriptions of torture. Because when you're young and an aspiring creative, that's what gets the juices flowing. It was fun to tease your morbid curiosity, and I respect the author for letting that out in this creepypasta. It is really bad, but in a charming way. It's nostalgic to me. I hope this author grew up and kept writing because I can tell she's writing for herself, for fun. Okay, those were 2 creepypastas and like 3 strange gambling advertisements. I'm glad I got to walk down this road with you and share these strange forays into the world of online storytelling. If you wrote creepypastas when you were younger, or perhaps you still are now, I would love to hear about them in the comments. I know creepypastas were a big part of my life growing up, and I did have a lot of fun revisiting some for this video. I really appreciate everyone who's been watching, commenting, liking. These videos do take quite a bit of time to make, so if you do like them, it is really appreciated if you like and subscribe. That being said, thank you very much. I love you. Bye-bye.